Hey guys, welcome back to whatever this is. And on today's episode, I was hoping to come back with a bit more of a positive episode right away, as I know I've been away for about a month. But that is not the case this time. Unfortunately, we are going to talk about a console that I really love, which is the Xbox Series X. I have made no hidden about that. I do really enjoy Xbox from the beginning, as my PS2 broke, so I had Xbox and I had GameCube during that generation. That's not the point of this story, but hey, some lore for you. And to watch this company just confuse the ever-loving heck out of me is upsetting. Let's get into it. So anyways, guys, as you can see, I'm not like a die-hard Xbox fan, but like they're generally my go-to console if it's not on Nintendo. If it's on the Nintendo, I'll generally play it there, or so. Like it kind of depends on the game. I'll go wherever I can. As I just played Final Fantasy, I have a PlayStation 5, so I played it there, obviously. But to see the long lineage of Xbox that I had my good friend Andrew years ago get me onto the Xbox, as I got him onto the GameCube. He hated it. He got me onto the Xbox, and this was a great system. And to see them go from making sure they have such good production value and quality products to what Game Pass has kind of done. And Game Pass is great. Like, I end up using it more for trying games out. And then if I tend to like them, I actually do pick up a physical copy, as you'll see shortly. And that is something that is beneficial to that. But to see this recent closure of Hi-Fi Rush, Tango Gameworks, which I know everybody and their mom is talking about, it's kind of awful to see just clearly people bean counting, which makes sense to a degree. Because I think the game, was phenomenal. I played through it earlier this year. It clearly didn't make that much money for them. Even putting it on PlayStation 5, it didn't make that much. And that's okay, but that's obviously not what Microsoft Gaming wants. What Xbox Gaming wants is Hi-Fi Rush. What Microsoft Gaming wants is something else entirely. And I think that's what we're seeing, is a clash of two ideals kind of slamming into each other, because Xbox Gaming would give us this. They gave us Lost Odyssey. Like, I'm even such a fan of this game that, like, I tracked down one of the very few, like, 4 green cases that had 4 discs in it. This was like, it held Forza or something with like a bunch of discs. They were all demo discs from the 360 days, so I just used it for Lost Odyssey because that made more sense to me. And this is what they used to do, was quality gaming. And even recently, like, I would say, like, seeing the JRPGs like Persona 3 Reload. Yes, this was on Game Pass. Yes, I bought it when it went on sale. And that is how they got me to double dip on a couple games, was, hey, this game's great. Cool, I will probably let Game Pass go at some point. So when I lose access to that, I still want access to the game. Like, I really enjoy the Xbox. And yes, the games are on the disc, people. I don't know where this myth came from. But these are wonderful games that Xbox has produced. I even have the 20th anniversary controller. It's super neat and super fun. But these were the things that, Xbox gamers would get. Like, they only just started really getting the Japanese stuff. And, like, that's what the console, to me, really needed, was Japanese stuff. And they started to get it. And it just feels like every time they take, like, 3 or 4 steps forward, something happens somewhere where then they're taking, like, 7 steps back. Like, to shut down Tango Gameworks and then literally turn around the next day and say, hey, we need more games like that. It's like, what are we doing here today, guys? That doesn't make sense. And it's very confusing. Like, I'll stick with it until, like, the console dies, just because I enjoy the Xbox for what it is. But I also understand, like, it's very hard to sell someone on it. As someone who would used to have to sell this stuff in a store, this can be quite difficult. And if you're not really pushing it, you're not going to push the sales. And that's kind of the problem then they slam into. And I understand. Like, I think we're at the point where this industry costs so much to make a game that if it hiccups a little bit, you're dead. Like, the studio is done almost. And I think that's a really dangerous place to be. This industry, as Modern Vintage Gamer put it, MVG, This industry's fucked. I'll just throw the tweet up somewhere. The fact that that could happen is very confusing. And you can see here that I have Xbox throughout the decades. And like with the 360, I picked it up like right at the tail end of the generation. My brother had one, but he took it when he moved out. So for me, I ended up buying an Xbox when they went really cheap, and then I kind of started going back and playing 360 games that weren't on PS3 because I bought the PS3. And what's funny about it is that I would say 90% of the time with an Xbox, if there is an Xbox version of a game, guys, it runs better than any PlayStation version. And especially now with all the patchwork, if it didn't run better initially, it usually runs better later. And I'll use the example of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. That game didn't run that great on the Series X at first. Like, it was a lot slower. And then as time's gone on, like, it's just about the same. It's incredible. And to see this confusion in the market, to see people losing hope. Like, I've seen stories of, like, massive Xbox people who just, like, built their brand. They met Phil Spencer, and they were like, oh, best buddies with him. And then they're just dumping everything Xbox, which I'm like, that's horrendous. That's really bad, actually. Because I think there is a market for their one strategy, which is, hey, let's sell the games that we own on other consoles. I actually think that's not a bad strategy, especially with old ones. No one cares anymore. I honestly think if you were to take Lost Odyssey, clean it up, put it on the series, 6 months later, dump it on the Switch, and then dump it on the PlayStation like a year later, nobody cares. Just like that, nobody cares. And it's really sad to see. A few interviews with some of the original staff of the Xbox stating that there is now Xbox and Microsoft Gaming, and that is the clash we're seeing. And I think it's really upsetting. I don't even know where to go from here. I mean, like, just from a conversation standpoint, as this is just really interesting developments ultimately at the end of the day. I think the Xbox is a great console, especially the Series. Basically, if you have a Series and an Xbox 360, you have like 2 decades worth of games to play. It's fantastic with 2 systems alone. Especially if you catch it before the 360 shop closes, because, you know, hey, these store shops have got to close at some point. There's not as much stuff on there, but it is coming to an end. I just wanted to kind of just come on camera again and just kind of get this out, because I'm not really sure where to go with any of this. And it's just a really interesting thought to, is this going to lurch forward? Is the console life going to be there? As there's even talks of that handheld Microsoft handheld, which I think is a great idea. I would love that thing. But we'll have to see what happens. And I was even saying, like, up to about a week ago, if you've known me and we were talking about games, I was saying maybe not Rebirth, but I was going to say Remake was probably going to get shadow dropped at some point this year on the Xbox, because I think that contract is expiring soon. Because that would be an insane contract if they were able to hold it for years and years and years. The game is so expensive, they need to make more money off of it. You throw it on PC, you throw it on Xbox, you throw it on Game Pass, you just take the bag and go. You got a great collection of games there. And yeah, that's it. I'm not gloom and doom, but I'm also not overjoyed with enthusiasm about the console as much. All I can say is I find games just look better on the console, like 100%. It does correct HDR, unlike the PS5. Your reds are just blown out for some reason. I cannot calibrate that thing to save my life. So I always kind of lean towards the Xbox, and I just found myself kind of downloading some of them and playing things on Xbox when I could, so I just figured, heck it, I'm going to get some hard copies of Xbox games. Also, I think in the future, I think the Xbox copies will be the more sought-after ones, only because they're harder to get. So you'll get the rare collectors just wanting hard copies of these guys. But that's neither here nor there, guys. Because there's a lot of games that did come out on the PS5 that are on the Xbox that a lot of people forgot that came out on the Xbox. And even got physical copies. A weird one I always like to point out is Omnimusha and Okami. Both got physical copies on the Xbox. I remember my store got 2 of them, and like, that was it. Never again. It was ceased to exist. But anyways, guys, that's it for this week's episode. Take care. Have a good one. And wherever you enjoy gaming, it doesn't really matter. I enjoy it on the Xbox more so as I just like this controller at the end of the day. But if you like playing on your Switch, you like playing on your PS5, that's awesome. Tell me where you like to play down below, and take care. Have a good one.